Amber Rudd speaks at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. Photo Getty. Stephen Bush. 5 days. Wednesday, November 15, 2017. When Theresa May became Prime Minister, there were two absolute truths about her position. The first was that she was in the role because Conservative MPs found the other options so unappetizing, and the second was that her best asset was Jeremy Corbyn. And because so much has changed since then, it is easy to forget that those two truths remain unchanged. Of course, back then, Conservative MPs thought Corbyn was her best asset because he guaranteed a Tory majority at the next election. Now, it's because her MPs are frightened that if they make any sudden moves, the government will come crashing down, ushering in a Corbyn government. The unattractiveness of the alternatives is also still keeping the Prime Minister in place. Possible Tory leaders come in two groups as far as most MPs are concerned: familiar faces from the top of the cabinet, who they know they find inadequate, and young pretenders from outside it, who they fear will be found inadequate in turn. Boris Johnson. Photo by Dan Kitwood. Getty Images. Boris Johnson is seen to have acquitted himself badly at the Foreign Office, even among pro-Brexit MPs. Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, is variously considered to be too down on Brexit and too keen on continuing public spending restraint. David Davis is too old. Greg Clark, the business secretary, too low profile. Even politicians who garner positive reviews from their colleagues receive backhanded compliments. Dominic Raab is good, one MP remarked to me recently, but Cameron never put him in the cabinet, so that's not going to happen now. Approval and disgust. Michael Gove on the BBC's Andrew Marr show. There are only two politicians who are in receipt of unqualified praise from their peers. The first is Michael Gove, perhaps the only front-rank Conservative politician who has not entirely blotted his copybook with one side in the referendum campaign. Although a senior figure in Vote Leave, he still has a number of Remain allies. Gove is also attracting rave reviews for his work as Environment Secretary. Environmentalists, no natural fans of Tory politicians, make a similar face to the one that Marty McFly did upon finding out his mother used to be quite good-looking in Back to the Future, a combination of approval and disgust. However, the environmentalists are not alone. The fear that no swing voter would give him a second look means that he is not an option for those worried about a Corbyn victory. That leaves the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, the candidate who senior Labour figures say they would least like to face. One says she has the air of a posh, mean but fair mum. Sort of the same vibe that worked for David Cameron for a bit. She is also a social liberal, a vital asset after Conservatives repelled so many socially liberal voters in June. Palmerston, Asquith, May, Callaghan, Churchill, Maurice. Saatchi lists the Home Secretaries who have become Prime Minister. Home Secretary to PM. Rudd mania might not yet have arrived in earnest, but the Thatcherite chair of the Centre of Policy Studies, Maurice Saatchi, recently introduced her at a party by playing a word association game. Palmerston, Asquith, May, Callaghan, Churchill, not his choices for a five-a-side team, but a list of Home Secretaries who went on to become Prime Minister. Rudd's problem is that it isn't only Labour who fear her, Conservative Party activists do too. They don't like that she was a vocal pro-European before the referendum and that she always looks uncomfortable talking up Brexit now. Her allies hope that once Brexit is resolved in March 2019, Tory minds will turn to the question of how to beat Corbyn. But the difficulty is that it looks increasingly unlikely that Brexit will be resolved in March 2019 or anything like it. Amber Rudd is winning over almost everyone in and around the Conservative Party apart from the group that holds her fate in their hands. Stephen Bush is special correspondent at The New Statesman and News. http://cnews.co.uk